Okay, so our product development team just finished up designing this brand new phone. As you can see, it's got kind of the boxy design. It's the best phone we make with the best specs and everything. And it's got the S Pen at the bottom, so you can write on the screen. So, what are we thinking we should call this phone? Yeah, for sure. Can I see it real quick? Yeah, sure, here. What are we gonna name it? All right, let's get to naming. Oh, I know. Since it has an S Pen, let's call it the Note 22. Wait a minute, we canceled that series last year. So what could we call it? Perfect. Now to send that to the CEO. So, I've been using the Galaxy S22 Ultra here for a few weeks now, and throughout all my testing and observations of every aspect of this $1,200 package, it's this. The S22 Ultra is the best of Android, the best cameras, screen, specs, all of it, but you probably shouldn't buy it. So let's break it all down. Now, if there are 3 musts that a company would have to nail in a phone at this price, it's screen, cameras, and specs. And I think Samsung has got all that down. Now, something you might not have known is Samsung is actually the largest maker of displays in the world. In this case, that's for a good reason. This is as good as a smartphone display gets, full stop. It's massive at 6.8 inches, it has a 1440p Quad HD Plus resolution, it's a 10-bit color panel so it can show over 1 billion colors, it's got the famed and truly cherished 120Hz refresh rate, and a generally clean look with a uniform edgeless front. It's also now an LTPO2 panel, so it can dial its refresh rate all the way down from 120Hz to just 1 Hz depending on what you're doing. So if you're gaming or scrolling or doing something that requires a high refresh rate, it'll use 120Hz, but if you're looking at something static like a still image or you're always on display, it'll scale down to 1 Hz to hugely save battery. And the big new screen spec of this year, other than that, is the 1750 nits of brightness that this screen has. So if we were to grade the screen on the S22 Ultra, it would be an easy A+. But another given for something you're dropping huge cash on is having the best, latest, and greatest specs. This phone absolutely has that, with one asterisk I'll get to. But across the board, it's looking great. You're getting a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, the best, latest, and greatest chip, if you're buying in North America anyway. Otherwise, you're getting Samsung's Exynos 2200, which I can't vouch for since I didn't test it, but every game, app, and task I've thrown at the Snapdragon phone has been handled like a champion, and Samsung's software runs super smoothly on such a beefy bit of kit. And this Ultra phone needs to push tons of pixels in the screen and a power-hungry chip, so of course it needs a beefy battery to go with it. This phone delivers with a 5,000 mAh battery, making this an easy all-day phone, perfectly suited to heavy usage as the Ultra customer would throw at it. Now, that asterisk. The base version of this phone at $1,200 offers 128 gigs of storage and 8 gigs of RAM. Now, on one hand, this is either just enough or more than you need. And in my opinion, the 8 gigs of RAM is not the problem. That's more than you'll ever use considering how phones efficiently manage background tasks and how apps don't use a whole lot of RAM in the first place. And even though this is less included than last year's base S21 Ultra, One UI 4 has a feature where it basically repurposes about 4 to 6 gigs of free storage as usable virtual RAM, so you really won't end up losing out on much. My problem is 128 gigs of storage in a phone for $1,200. If you had a phone with 128 gigs for around $800 to $1,000, then fine. But if you're the type of person spending hard cash for a company's absolute greatest phone, you probably need more space than someone who's a more casual user of their phone. So at that point, you'll be out another $100 to upgrade to 256 gigs of storage. Now this phone also has an in-display fingerprint scanner, which is simply the best biometric unlocking option that this offers. It's pretty quick and snappy, but every now and again there will be a slight delay of about 1.5 seconds. And you're also getting excellent external hardware with Gorilla Glass Victus Plus on the front and the back. The frosted matte glass back on this phone feels awesome, but the glossy frame just doesn't feel right because of how fingerprinty and sticky it gets within your first minute of owning this phone. But it's still an overall great design, especially with the super cool looking pop-out cameras. But now, the S Pen. Now if you're a Galaxy Note fan coming from a Galaxy Note phone, then, well, with this, welcome home. This is exactly a Note in its productivity suite of features, just without the Note name. The S Pen is quite a brilliant little tool that does more than just write things. It can remotely control your camera from a distance and use air actions to perform quick tasks. But using this for writing is just on another level, and it extends beyond just using Notes apps. In any text field, you can handwrite instead of typing, and you can manipulate any handwriting from any note and quickly look it up or copy and paste wherever you wish. If you think you'll use the S Pen a lot, then I think it's a great value add to the phone, and it's certainly a ultra tool, kind of like me. But now cameras, the third requirement for a company to absolutely nail in their greatest products. And there's a lot to look at here. You've got a 108 megapixel master main camera, then a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, a 10 megapixel 3x zoom camera, and a 10 megapixel 10x zoom camera. This monster system definitely delivers, obviously packing in loads of detail considering the ridiculously high 108 megapixel resolution, and the ultra wide and zoom cameras seriously deliver as well, with large sensors that just get information in each shot. These cameras simply take breathtaking photos, but Samsung in general does have a tendency to process photos in a different way, in that they smooth things out a lot instead of processing as much crispness as they could, and tend to make things a little cool in temperature. But what Samsung has done to take daytime photos to a whole new level is an all new way of processing them, where it takes one super high resolution shot with the 108 megapixel sensor, and also using the same sensor captures a 12 megapixel shot, which is usually better for brightness because it doesn't capture as much detail. And so the phone then combines them together for what Samsung says is the best of both worlds. And I'd have to agree with them, because these photos are absolutely breathtaking, and I really appreciate that Samsung has added this, as once again, it makes this ultra camera even more powerful. But obviously, it's about more than just daytime photos, which is why this camera is also just an overall powerhouse. Samsung's nightography allows you to take amazing night mode photos, which are pretty close to what the Google Pixel and iPhone are capable of, but not entirely there. And compared to the S21 Ultra, the camera has a 58% wider optical image stabilization area, which strongly helps capture those night mode photos and gives you even more stillness and smoothness while recording handheld video. Now, there are a few areas where the S22 Ultra does fall behind other phones. Samsung has never excelled in taking portrait shots, and while they have improved them this year, it is still behind the iPhone. It's far less natural than you'd like, even when you go back and turn down the intensity, and portrait video is also less than optimal. It just looks like something's off. But next up, video quality. Android phones have never been ahead in video quality, and whenever compared to the iPhone, it looked embarrassingly behind. And I'm here to tell you now, that hasn't really changed at all. One of the reasons I love the iPhone so much, and why it's been the main camera for my videos pretty much since I started, is that it's solid quality, often actively impressing me with just how much it can deliver. I can trust that whenever I take a video on my iPhone 12 mini, as I am now, I know it'll look good and it'll look how I want it to. But with the S22 Ultra, it isn't quite that way. I've recorded several video clips with this phone, and it doesn't have a consistent style or anything of that sort. Video is often overexposed in harsh lighting, and it continues to insist on smoothing out objects like with photos. It's not bad in the sense that the quality is poor, but you can tell you're not getting $1,200 worth of video, and something's a little bit off. But at the end of the day, these are super minor drawbacks, and I'm sure Samsung will improve them with future software updates. So I'm gonna have to say Samsung did nail the cameras here. But finally, software. Samsung has come a long way with software, turning it from a bloated, disgusting mess to a clean and simple system that is a delight to use. And this has never been more apparent than with One UI 4. The color palette feature from Android 12 is incredible, allowing you to pick accent colors from your wallpaper and use them with UI elements. The shape and arrangement of the icons are great, and I think the general flat and clean look is pulled off well, which is definitely not something I would have expected to say about Samsung's software. There is still some bloatware. Samsung really pushes all kinds of crap to you that you probably never use, like Samsung Health or the Galaxy Store, and you're not only getting all of Samsung's apps, but also bundled in are a few Microsoft services which are enabled by default. For example, instead of backing up your photos to Google Photos, it backs them off to Microsoft OneDrive, and they make it really hard to switch from OneDrive to another service. But even with all this, I'm still glad Samsung is at least partially dialing back on making you use their own stuff, because in One UI 4, a lot of Google services, which are just better in every way, are bundled in and used by default. Now, I said at the beginning of the video that this package is the best Android can deliver, and you just saw me prove that point with a market-leading screen, next-level cameras, super specs, and monster battery, but I also said at the beginning there that you probably shouldn't buy this. And that just boils down to the fact that with this, you're getting way more than you even need at a pretty high price. In the US, this phone costs $1,200 for the base model with 128 gigs of storage and 8 gigs of RAM, but the more mainstream, probably more popular S22 Plus is $200 less than that at $1,000. Now, these may look like very different phones, but you're actually not compromising on much when going down to the S22 Plus and saving $200. In fact, here's a list of all the differences. First off, the screen is slightly smaller at 6.6 inches instead of 6.8, which in my opinion is a good thing that makes the phone more manageable while still giving you a considerably large canvas. And it also has curved corners instead of the jabby, uncomfortable, boxy corners of the Ultra, meaning that for most people, the S22 Plus is a better feeling phone. Resolution is slightly lower, going from a 1440p Quad HD Plus panel to a 1080p Full HD Plus panel, which isn't much of a compromise, and the S22 Plus is a slightly smaller battery at 4,500 mAh compared to 5,000, but because of the smaller and lower resolution screen it powers, you probably won't lose out on battery, and there's also no S Pen, but most people probably don't care since they don't use it anyway. But the biggest thing you're compromising on is cameras, going down from a 108 megapixel main sensor to 50, and losing out on the laser autofocus and one of the 2 telephoto cameras, but at the end of the day, the cameras on the Plus are still easily A grade. So you're not really compromising on much going down to the S22 Plus, but at the same time you're saving $200. And, getting a more comfortable design. And if you were looking to save even more, well, there's the normal S22, which is just a smaller S22 Plus, so a smaller screen and battery, but everything else is once again all that 2022 can get you. And that phone is $800, a $400 saving to this Ultra, although I have heard battery life is sometimes an issue on that smaller model. So it is pretty important to consider if you actually need a slightly higher resolution display or an S Pen or a slightly better camera system. And if you do, then the Ultra is always there. But otherwise, I recommend you go with the normal S22 or the S22 Plus, as you're not compromising on too much, but you're saving hundreds of dollars. But with all of that, if you enjoyed this video, definitely be sure to let me know by leaving a like down below and subscribing down below with notifications on so you never miss another video. But with all of that, I'm Max. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.